Okay, so let's dive right in. Imagine this. Deep beneath a man-made hill in China, there's a treasure, one of the biggest archaeological mysteries on the entire planet. It's the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. And get this, it's been sitting there completely untouched for more than 2,000 years. We've known it's there for about half a century now, but no one has ever dared to go inside.
And that, of course, brings us to the big question, right? Why? I mean, we know where it is. We have these incredible historical accounts telling us what might be inside. So what's the holdup? Why haven't we cracked open this incredible time capsule? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into.
So before we get to why we're waiting, you've got to understand the sheer scale of this thing. I mean, this isn't just a tomb. Qin Shi Huang was building his own eternal empire underground. This was the guy who was completely obsessed with the idea of living forever, of ruling from the afterlife. And so his tomb was meant to be a perfect one-to-one replica of his entire kingdom.
And look, this isn't just some crazy fantasy story. We have this description from an ancient historian, Sima Qian, who was writing just 100 years or so after the emperor died. He talked about this underground palace, a miniature world. He said it had ceilings studded with pearls to look like the night sky. And get this, a whole landscape with rivers and seas made of flowing mercury. It's an incredible, almost unbelievable vision, right?
And you know, if you're thinking, come on, rivers of mercury? That sounds a bit much. Well, just look at what we've already found outside the tomb. The Terracotta Army? We're talking thousands of life-size soldiers, each one with a unique face. Horses, chariots, the whole deal. But here's the kicker. That incredible army? That's not even the main event. They're just the bodyguards. The real prize, the emperor's actual tomb, is still sitting right in the middle of it all, totally sealed off.
Okay, so with all that incredible history just waiting to be discovered, what's the deal? Why the wait? Well, it's not one simple thing. It's actually a really complicated mix of scientific problems, environmental dangers, and some pretty deep ethical questions.
It really boils down to four major obstacles, four big reasons.
All right, barrier number one, and this is a huge one. Preservation. Think about it. The second we open that tomb and let our modern air rush in, we could instantly destroy everything inside. It's the ultimate archaeological nightmare, you know? The very act of finding something could be the thing that ruins it forever.
And we've seen this happen before. We learned this lesson the hard way with the Terracotta Army. When those soldiers were first dug up, they were breathtaking, covered in all these bright, vibrant colors. But literally within minutes of being exposed to the air, that ancient paint just poof. It curled up, flaked off, and turned to dust. The sad truth is, we just don't have the technology right now to promise that the same thing wouldn't happen to priceless silks, ancient texts, or anything else inside the main tomb.
Okay, so that's the risk to the artifacts. But then there's barrier number two, the very real, physical danger to any person who tries to go in there. I mean, we're talking about a huge, ancient building that's been buried deep underground for over 2 millennia. No one's been inside. We have no idea how stable it is.
So, the main chamber is thought to be about the size of a football field. A football field! And there's a serious risk it could just collapse. And then, there are the legends. That same historian, Sima Qian, wrote about booby traps. He said there were crossbows rigged to fire automatically at anyone who broke in. Now look, are they likely to still work after 2,200 years? Probably not. But you can't say for sure, right? It just adds another layer of uh-oh to an already super risky situation.
All right, so we've got protecting the artifacts and protecting the archaeologists. Barrier number 3 is about protecting, well, everyone and everything else, the entire environment. And this one comes back to that one really toxic substance we heard about in the old stories.
Yeah, I'm talking about mercury. Remember those flowing rivers? See, back in ancient China, they thought mercury was connected to immortality. We, on the other hand, now know it's an incredibly dangerous neurotoxin. If we were to break into a sealed chamber that's potentially filled with literal rivers of the stuff, it could be a massive environmental disaster.
And again, this isn't just some spooky old legend. Modern science has actually backed this up. Scientists have tested the soil right above the tomb, and guess what? The mercury levels are way, way higher than anywhere else in the area. So it seems like those old stories were telling the truth. This is a real, tangible threat.
And that brings us to the fourth and final barrier. And this one has nothing to do with technology or toxic chemicals. This one is all about respect. Because you have to remember, this isn't just some dig site. For many people, it's a sacred place. I mean, think about who Qin Shi Huang was. This is the man who unified China. He created a single currency, a single written language. He's a foundational figure in Chinese history, almost like a mythical hero. So, to just go in and disturb his tomb, that would be seen as a huge act of disrespect, like desecrating the grave of a founding father. And that cultural ethical argument is a really, really powerful reason to leave it be.
Okay, so let's just run through that one more time. You've got Barrier 1, we could destroy the artifacts. Barrier 2, it's physically dangerous for anyone going in. Barrier 3, a potential environmental disaster with all that mercury. And Barrier 4, the deep ethical need to show respect. When you put all four of those together, yeah, you can see why patience is the name of the game here.
But here's the cool part. Waiting doesn't mean they're just sitting around doing nothing. Not at all. In fact, this whole situation has forced scientists to get super creative. It's created this whole new challenge. How do you explore one of the world's greatest treasures without ever actually touching it?
And the official policy from the Chinese government is really smart and responsible about this. They've basically said, nope, we're not opening that tomb until our technology is so good that we can guarantee 100% that everyone and everything will be safe, the researchers, and most importantly, all the priceless history inside.
So what are they doing? They're using some seriously cool, non-invasive tech. Things like ground-penetrating radar and remote sensing. It's like they're using technology to get an X-ray of the ground, digitally peeling back the layers of dirt to create these amazing 3D maps of the whole complex. And they're doing all this without digging a single hole. It's incredible. We're learning more and more every year, and the tomb stays perfectly safe.
And all of this kind of brings us to a really interesting place. When you think about it, the tomb of the first emperor isn't just about the past anymore. In a way, it's become a symbol for the future of archaeology.
Because what we're really looking at here is the biggest dilemma in archaeology, right? It's that human urge to know, that burning desire to see what's inside, versus our duty to protect these irreplaceable pieces of our history. And in this specific case, the most responsible, the most advanced scientific choice is to do nothing, to wait.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound final thought to chew on. Maybe the real treasure in that tomb isn't the rivers of mercury or the pearl-covered ceilings. Maybe the real treasure is the mystery itself, something we're consciously choosing to save for a future generation, one that might have the tech and the wisdom to handle it better than we can. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Should some mysteries be left unsolved?